अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः परगुरुभ्यो नमः सर्वगुरुभ्यो नमः। श्रीरंगनाथ श्रीगोपीन्द्रष्टिं लक्ष्मी नृसिंहशर्यत्करुणैकपात्रं श्रीरंगवीररघुनाथ षड्गोपरुज्यं वेदान्तदेशिकेन्द्रमहं प्रपयोज्ये श्रीमते श्रीवंशगोपस्य वेदान्तदेशिकेन्द्रमः देशिकाय नमः। ओम श्रीमान वेंकटनाथार्य कवितार्किकेसरी वेदांताचार्यवर्यो मे सन्निधत्तां सदा हृदि। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवम् उपास्महे। Okay, ma, we will continue with HAYAGREEVA-STOTRAM, and that little girl Radha is there today. Oh, she's not here. Anyone of you want to chant HAYAGREEVA-STOTRAM, ma?
Yes, Swamiji.
Okay. Anadharya Kavitarkikakesari
Vedantacharyaji Sannidham Sadahruti
Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalasphatikakrutim
Adaram Sarvavidyanam Hayagreevamupasmahe
Swadasiddham Shuddhasphatikmanibhuparatpratipatam Sudha Asadde Jivirjivirvadarattribhuvanam
Anantaistrayantairannu Vihitaheshahalhalam Hataseshavadhyam Hayavadanamidhimahimaha
Samahara Samnam Pratipadamucham Dhamayusham Laya Prachuhanam Jaladhe Laya Prachuhanam Lahari Virtehe Bodha Jaladhe
Kata Darpakshubhyat Kata Kalkulakolakalabhavam Haratvantartvantam Hayavadana Heshahalahalaha.
प्राची संख्या काचिदंतर्निशायाः प्रज्ञादृष्टेः रञ्जनशीलपूर्व
वक्री वेदान भातु मे वाजिवक्त्र वागी साख्या वासुदेवस्य मूर्तिः
विशुद्ध विज्ञान घनस्वरूपं विज्ञान विश्रमणबद्धदीक्षं
दयानिधिं देहभृतां शरण्यां देवं हयग्रीवमहं प्रपद्ये
अपौरुषैः प्रवाक्प्रपञ्चैः अद्यापि ते भूतिमदृष्टपारम्
स्तुवन्नहं मुक्त इति त्वयैव कारुण्यतो नाथकटाक्षणीयः
दाक्षिण्यरम्या गिरिशिष्यमूर्तिः देवी सरोजासन धर्मपत्नी
व्यासादयोऽपि व्यपदेश्यवाचः स्फुरन्ति सर्वे तव शक्तिलेशैः
मन्दो भविष्यन्नेतमिरिञ्चो वाचां निधे वञ्चितभागधेयः
दैत्यापनीतं दयव्यैव भूयोऽपि अद्यापयिष्यो निगमान् चेत्त्वम्
वितर्कडोलां व्यवधूय सत्त्वे बृहस्पतिं वर्तयसे तस्त्वम्
तेनैव देवत्रिदशेश्वराणाम् अप्रष्टदोलयितमधिराज्यम्
अग्नौ समिद्धाच्युसप्ततन्तोः आतस्तिवान् मन्त्रमयं शरीरम्
अखण्डसारैर्हविषां प्रदानैः आप्यायनं व्योमसदां विधत्ते
यन्मूलमिद्रत् प्रतिभाति तत्त्वं यामूलमाम्नाय महाद्रुमाणाम्
Yes.
Emma, any other kids who want to chant, Amma? Any other kids who want to chant? No other kids?
Narayana Swamiji.
Go ahead, Amma. She read 11th verse. Yanmura Medrupatvadutam Yamura Mamlaya Mahadumana.
Tattvena jananti vishuddha sattvaha tamaksharam matrukam tam.
Abhya Kuta Vyakutavana Siktam Namani Rupani Chayani Purvam.
Tamsanti tesham sharamam pratishtham vagishwaratvam tvadu pragnavachah.
Mugdhendra Nishanda Vilopaniya Murtim Tavananda Sudha Prasutim.
Vipashitaschetapsi bhavayante vela mudara miva dugdha sindho.
Manogatam Pashyati Sadatva Manishna Manasaraja Hamsam.
Swayam puro bhava vivadha bhajah kinkurvate tasya giro yatharham.
Apikshanartham Karayanti Etvam Aplavayantam Visdermayukaihi.
Vacham pravahe ranivari taiste mandakinim mandayitam kshamante.
Swamin Bhavajjana Sudhabhishekat Vahanti Sanyaha Pulakanubandham.
Alakshite kwapi nirudha moolam angeshvivananda thumam kurantam.
Swamin Praticha Hridena Dhanyah Stadhyava Chandrodaya Vardhamanam.
Amantamananda payodhivantaha payobhirakshnam parivahayanti.
Svairānubhāvā Swadhīnabhāvā Samurthaviryaha Tvadanugrahena.
Vipashito natha taranti mayam vaiharika kim mohana pinchikamte.
Prāṅgamitānām tapasām vipākāha Pratyagna Nishayasa Sampado me.
Samedhishiran stava pada padme sankalpachinta manaya pranamah.
Vilupta Murdhanya Lipikramānām Sundachūda Padarāditānām.
Tadanghriraji varajah kananam bhuyan prasado mainatha bhuyat.
Parispurannu Prachitrabhanu Prakāshanidhuta Tamonushangam.
Padadvayim te parichinmahentah prabodaraji vavibhata sandhyam.
Tatkin Karalankaranojitanam Tavyakalpantara
Manjupranadam maninupuram te manjushikam veda giram pratimah.
Sanchintayami Pratipādashastān Sandhukshayantam Samaya Pradīpān.
Vijnanakalpa drumma pallavam vabham vyakhyana mudra madhuram karam te.
Chitte Karomi Sprutakshamanam Savyetaram Nadhakaram Pradiyam.
Jnanamritodancha nalam patanam lila ghatiyantra mivashitanam.
Prabodha Sindho Arne Prakashehi Prabhala Sanghata Ivodvahantam.
Avayadeva sapustakam te vamam karam dakshinamashritanam.
Tamam Sabhipta Visayarmayukaihi Samprinayantam Vidishaschakoran.
Nishamayatvam nava pundarike sharadghane chandramiva sphurantam.
Dishant Medeva Sadatiyah Dayataranganuchara Kataksha.
Shrotreshu pumsa mamritam ksharantim saraswatim samshrita kamadhenum.
Vishesha Vitparshadishanatha Vidagagoshti Samranganeshu.
Jigishato me kavitarki kendran jihvagrasimhasanamabhyupeyah.
Tvam Chintayan Tanmaitam Prapannaha Tvamadguruna Shabdamayana Dharna.
Swamin samajeshu samedhishiya swachandavadaha vabadhashuraha.
Nana Vidhana Magitikalanam Nacha Pityeddheshu कृतावतारः
ध्रुवं तवानाथ परिग्रहायाः नवं नवं पात्रमहं दयायाः
अकम्पनीयान्यप्रीतिभेदैः अलङ्कृशीलं हृदयं मदीयम्
शङ्काकर्णकापगमोज्ज्वलानि तत्त्वानि संयञ्चि तव प्रसादात्
व्याख्यामुद्रां करसदये पुस्तकं शङ्खचक्रे बिभ्रद्भिन्नस्फटिकरुचिरे पुण्डरीके निषण्णः
आम्लानशीरमृतविशदैरं शुभिः प्लावयन् माम् आविर्भूयादनघमहिमा मानसे वागधीशः
Please repeat them. व्याख्यामुद्रां करसदये पुस्तकं शङ्खचक्रे बिभ्रद्भिन्नस्फटिकरुचिरे पुण्डरीके निषण्णः
आम्लानशीरमृतविशदैरं शुभिः प्लावयन् माम् आविर्भूयादनघमहिमा घममहिमा मानसे वागधीशः
वागर्धसिद्धिहेतोः पर्थः एव संस्थितं भच्चः
कवितार्किकेसरिना वेङ्कटनाथेन विरचितमेतम्
वागर्धसिद्धिहेतोः पर्थः एव संस्थितं भच्चः
कवितार्किकेसरिना वेङ्कटनाथेन विरचितमेतम्
कवितार्किकसिंहाय कल्याणगुणशालिने
श्रीमते
वेदान्तगुरवे नमः श्रीमते निगमहन्तमहादेशिकाय नमः. Okay, Ma. Any questions that you want to ask Ma first? Ma, anyone of you know questions? Okay. Yesterday we saw the explanation for the first 4 verses of Hayagreeva-Stotram. So let us continue from there. So if you go to the next verse, Vishuddha Vijnana Ghanaswarupam Vijnana Vishrana Paddhariksham Dayanidhim Dehaprutam Sharanyam Devam Hayagreevam Aham Prapajye. Vishuddha. Yeah, yes, sir. கிளம்புறீங்களா? நீங்களெல்லாம் சாப்பிட்டாங்களா? நிஜமா? சாதம் with what? விஞ்ஞான விஸ்ரண பத்ததீக்ஷம் தயாநிதிம் தேஹபృతం శరణ్యం దేవం హయగ్రీవం aham prapajye. So here it says, may we do Sharanagati at the divine feet of Bhagavan Hayagreeva. Hayagreeva, the embodiment of pure Jnanam, Vishuddha Vijnanam. That Jnanam that is not adulterated by any kind of information which is not permitted in the scriptures. That's why it's called Vishuddha Vijnanam. And that Bhagavan Sri Hayagreeva, he has taken a pledge to distribute this jnana to all his surrendered devotees. And that Hayagreeva is the storehouse of all compassion. Dayanidhim. Dehabrutam Sharanyam. For anyone who has got a body, Hayagreeva, yes, you can do Sharanagati and get an abundance of knowledge. And Bhagavan says, Mahatma Vedanteshka says, he is the storehouse, unimaginable compassion, Dayanidhi, and is the only one we all can turn to for our Sharanagati. Anybody can go. Anybody can beg for Sharanagati. And Bhagavan Hayagreeva will be very happy. Devam Hayagreevam Aham Prapadye. Prapadye means do Sharanagati. I was delayed this morning because even this morning 2 people came and had Sharanagati. A mother and her 9-year-old daughter. With Hayagreeva's grace, when we do Sharanagati, he will give us all the intelligence that is needed. If we are fortunate to do Sharanagati at the divine feet of Bhagavan Sri Hayagreeva, because he is the embodiment of pure knowledge, Jnanam, and he had taken a pledge to distribute this Jnana to everyone who surrenders to him. There is nothing that Hayagreeva cannot give you as far as Jnana is concerned. In addition to giving us whatever knowledge we want, he is also the storehouse of compassion. Any amount of daya is for you to ask for. Apaurushaihi prapanchaihi adhyapi te bhuti madrishtaparam suvannaham mugdhai ivatvayaiva karunyato nadha katakshaniyah. Apaurushaihi apivak prapanchaihi. As you all know, in Vedas, there are some people who believe Bhagavan is nirguna. Bhagavan doesn't have a physical form. For those people who are talking about the impersonal aspect of the Vedas, that impersonal aspect of the Vedas could not understand the unlimited opulences, even till today. Bhagavan has so many Kalyana Gunas. If you resort to the Nirguna Tattvam, it cannot even think of. Even Vedas could not understand the complete extent of the glory of Bhagavan Sriman Narayana. So what all we can do is appeal to the mercy of the personal form of the Lord, Bhagavan Hayagreeva. There is the difference between impersonal way of worship and personal way of worship. Sagunopasana, Nirgunopasana. If you are looking for Nirgunopasana, impersonal form, there are many people to talk about, many areas where people can cater to their needs of impersonal devotees. But when it comes to the personal form, Sagunopasana, when it comes to Sagunopasana, even the Devi Devatas themselves could not understand. Could not understand the extent of the vibhutis of Bhagavan Sri Hayagreeva. Now, when we say Bhagavan's compassion is beyond our imagination, here is the next one. Dakshanya Ramya Grishashya Murtihi Devi Sarojasana Dharma Patni Vyasadayopi Vyapadeshya Vachaha Spuranti Sarve Tava Shaktileshe. Dakshanya Ramya Grishashya Murtihi Devi Sarojasana Dharma Patni Vyasadayopi Vyapadeshya Vachaha Spuranti Sarve Tava Shaktileshe. Shaktilation. Now, Dakshanya Ramya Grishashya Murtihi. The pleasant form of Shankara, known as the Dakshinamurti, and Saraswati, wife of that lotus-born Brahma. Saraswati, the wife of that lotus-born Brahma. Devi Sarojasana Dharmapatni. Vyasarayopi, and the great composers like Veda Vyasa and others. They all became very famous, and they are all glorified. Now, Shankara as Dakshinamurti, Brahmadeva's wife Saraswati, and great composers like Veda Vyasa are all glorified as the gods of knowledge. Why they are glorified as the gods of knowledge? Because they received just a very small fraction of the great opulences of Bhagavan Hayagreeva. Just with, say, a very small fraction that they learned from you, these people, like Dakshinamurti, Saraswati Devi, Veda Vyasa, even though they did not even receive 1% of the knowledge of Lord Hayagreeva. Still they are glorified as gods of knowledge. Say for 1% of the knowledge of Hayagreeva, they are glorified as the gods of knowledge. Imagine how Devi Devatas will be worshipping Bhagavan Sri Hayagreeva in Swargaloka, etc. It is like saying, when somebody When somebody could be glorified as the God of knowledge, with not even 1% of the knowledge of Hayagreeva, what could be the extent of the knowledge of Hayagreeva himself? Come, if you want. Where are you? Wait one minute. Just will another few minutes are complete, at least 4 more verses of HH-Jeeyar-Swamy, then we will continue. Good. So Shaivites worship Dakshinamurti as the source of jnana, as the God in charge of education. General public worship Saraswati as the goddess of education. And the Vedantis, looking for Upanishads, etc., worship Vedavyasa as the god of knowledge. Now remember, be it Dakshinamurti, or be it Saraswati, or be it Vedavyasa, their knowledge is not even 1% of the knowledge of Hayagreeva. Not even with 1% knowledge, if either Dakshinamurti, Saraswati and Vedavyasa are glorified as the gods of jnana, what we have to understand is, even with 1% of the knowledge, if they are glorified, what could be the extent of glorification of Hayagreeva? That's the comparison. It is almost like you have $1 million and you are respected in your community, in your society, or in your circle. Remember, if for 1 million itself, if you are glorified that much, suppose somebody is there with 100 times more than that, how much he should be respected? That's how we should understand. And all these people, Dakshinamurti, Saraswati and Vedavyasa, where did they get? Come in, Amma. Come in. Understand is, Mahatma Bhagavan Hayagreeva conducts various courses. In one batch, Dakshinamurti came first. In another batch, Saraswati came first. In another batch, Vedavyasa came first. Even though they received only 1% of the knowledge of Hayagreeva, and just with 1% of the knowledge of Hayagreeva, if people are glorified as the gods of education, how much more should be the worship of Hayagreeva, who must be worshipped with all our heart and soul, with 100% of divine bliss, divine knowledge. That's why they say Dakshinya Ramya Girishasya Murti. Saroja Sana Dharmapatni, Brahma Sa Dharmapatni Saraswati. Vyasada Yope Vyapadeshya Vachaha. Spuranti Sarve Tava Shakti Leshaihi. Just for you to understand, I put as 1%. That doesn't mean mechanically. It could even be 0.1%. It could even be 0.001% compared to what is the original knowledge of Bhagavan Hayagreeva. So what we have to understand here is, for 1% of knowledge itself, if these people are glorified as the gods of education, what could be the level of worship of Hayagreeva himself? Now he says in the next verse, Mando Bhavishyan Etam Virinchaha Vacham Nithehe Vanchita Bhagatheyaha Daichapanitan Daiva Bhuyopi Adhyapayishyo Nigaman Nachitvam.
Swamiji, I have a doubt in the previous one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does Hayagreeva have more knowledge, or does Sriman Narayana have more knowledge?
Who is this, Manasvi?
Yes, Swamiji.
Which grade are you, Manasvi?
7.
7th grade, right? You tell me whether you have more knowledge or your teacher has more knowledge.
My teacher.
Same thing. Same thing. But you also have some knowledge, right? But your knowledge is only 1% of your teacher, correct?
Yeah.
Same thing. If your mom and dad or your grandfather is saying, oh, our Manasvi is so smart, for 1% of the knowledge itself you are so smart, what could be the knowledge of your teacher? Same way. If for 1% of knowledge is Dakshinamurti and Saraswati and Vedavyasa who are worshipped, how much more they should worship Narayana, who is called the true manifestation of Bhagavan Sriman Narayana.
So Sriman Narayana is the teacher of Hayagreeva?
What is it Sriman Narayana is?
Is the teacher of Hayagreeva.
No. Sriman Narayana's manifestation is Hayagreeva. Sriman Narayana is not the teacher. Sriman Narayana himself appeared as Hayagreeva, the embodiment of knowledge. Just like Sriman Narayana incarnated as Rama, incarnated as Krishna. But he also incarnated as a Hayagreeva. So the original form is called Narayana. And the different forms where you can see the pictures and understand, or you can see the rumors can understand, or you can see the writings somewhere and understand. Just 1 second, Amma, just 1 second. I have to take this call, I'll come back, Amma, 1 second. Bhagavan has to do a few things. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya. If all those things are not done, then we have to consider them as manifestation, not as avataram but as avirbhavam. For a limited purpose, Bhagavan comes. So, Hayagreeva is exactly the same as Lord Narayana. Just as Krishna is exactly the same. Just as Krishna is exactly the same as Bhagavan Narayana, Hayagreeva also is exactly the same as Narayana. There is nothing as Narayana is Guru for Hayagreeva. They are one and the same. It is like a man. Today he may be there in a pants and a shirt. Tomorrow he may be wearing a dhoti. That doesn't mean you get a new father. It's the same man yesterday. Yesterday he was in pants and shirts. Today he is in dhoti. Same way, one day in the original Vaikuntham Narayana is there, but for a limited purpose he manifested as Hayagreeva. Is that clear?
Yes, Swamiji.
So, whereas if Hayagreeva is the teacher, Dakshinamurti, Saraswati, Vedavyasa are his students. However great the students may be, still their knowledge is not even 1% of their teacher. So here the point is, even with 1% of the whole knowledge, if Brahma, Shankara and Saraswati, if they are glorified even for 1%, how much more should we glorify Bhagavan Sriman Narayana, who manifested as Lord Hayagreeva himself? Is the comparison clear to you?
Yes, Swamiji.
Swamin, I had one question about
Yeah, go ahead.
so what was the purpose of the Hayagreeva manifestation of Sriman
To
Narayana?
bless everyone with knowledge. To bless everyone, to propagate the Vedic knowledge. One, through the stream of followers, through Dakshinamurti. Another is to propagate the knowledge through Saraswati. Another is to propagate the knowledge through Vedavyasa. So for three of them, they needed a teacher. Because no Jivatma can ever have perfect knowledge. Even if they are Devi Devatas. Even if they are Devi Devatas. They are still Jivatmas. No Jivatma can ever have 100% of perfect knowledge. Only Paramatma can have. And in this case, Paramatma is Sri Hari. Sri Hari the same as Sriman Narayana. And Sriman Narayana is exactly the same as Hayagreeva. You follow the point, sir?
Yes, Swamin.
Now, the important aspect here is any Jivatma, be it Vedavyasa, be it Saraswati, be it Dakshinamurti, their knowledge is still limited. Unlimited knowledge can be there only for Bhagavan. Bhagavan Shabdam can be applied only when there is Shadgunya Paripurnatvam. Shadgunya Paripurnatvam is Jnana, Bala, Aishwarya, Virya, Shakti, Teja. And even among the manifestations in the Vyuha form, we remember what are the 4 Vyuha forms, Amma? Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha Tattvam. Only Vasudeva Tattvam has all the 6 opulences. Only Vasudeva Tattvam has all the 6 opulences. Whereas, when it comes to Sankarshana, Sankarshana has only 2 portions, only Jnana and Bala. Jnana and Bala for Adisesha, Aishwarya and Virya for Pradyumna Tattvam, Prajna Vyuha form, Shakti and Teja for Shakti and Teja for Aniruddha Tattvam. But all 6 of them in the Vasudeva Tattvam. Vasudeva Tattvam is of unlimited potencies, even though they are all one and the same. Still, that is how Bhagavan wanted to distribute the Shadgunas. In Vasudeva Tattvam, Jnana, Bala, Aishwarya, Virya, Shakti, Teja in 100% opulences. Whereas in the case of Sankarshana, the second Vyuha form of Adisesha is limited only to 2 opulences, Jnana and Bala. The next one, Prajna Tattvam, Aishwarya, Virya, only 2 aspects. Aniruddha Tattvam, Shakti and Teja. Vasudeva Tattvam, all 6 of them in 100%. So that Vasudeva is none other than Hayagreeva. And that Hayagreeva is the one who is the teacher for Dakshinamurti, Saraswati and Vedavyasa. Now what here Mahatma Deshika is glorifying is just having only 1% of the knowledge of the teacher, just 1% only. Tava Shakti Leshaihi. Lesha means very, very infinitesimal. If you can follow this and understand that the opulences of Hayagreeva are beyond our imagination, whereas even with 1% of the jnana of Hayagreeva, Dakshinamurti, Saraswati and Vedavyasa are glorified as the gods of education. How much more should be the glorification of Hayagreeva, who has 100% of perfect knowledge? Is that clear now, the comparison, Manasvi?
Yes, Swamiji.
Go ahead, Amma. What are your other questions? Today you learned 4 verses. Now, quickly, anybody who want to chant the first 8 verses, Amma? दमयन् देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम्
आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे
ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलं स्फटिकाकृतिम्
आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे
स्वतः सिद्धं शुद्धस्फटिकमनुभूप्रतिपठं सुधा श्रद्धेजीभिर्जिविदवदादित्यभूतम्
अनन्तैत्रयन्तरनुगीतहेषा हलहलं हतशिषवद्यं हयवदनमीडि महिमः
सम समाहारसाम्नां प्रतिपदमुचां प्रतिपदं रुचां धामईषां लयप्रच्यूहानां लहरिविकृतिः बोधजलधेः
कटादर्पशोभ्यत्कटककुलकोलाहलभवं हरद्वान्तद्वान्तं हयवदन हेषा हलहल
प्राची संख्या काचिदन्तर्दिशायाः प्रज्ञादृष्ट्वे रञ्जनशीलपूर्वः
वक्तृवेदान् भातु मे वाजी वक्त्र वागीशाख्य वासुदेवस्य मूर्ति
विशुद्धविज्ञानघनस्वरूपं विज्ञानविश्राणनबद्धदीक्षम्
दयानिधिं देहभृतां शरण्यं देवं हयग्रीवम् अहं प्रपद्ये
अपौरुषैरपवाक्प्रपञ्चैः अध्यापितेभूतिमदृष्टपारम्
स्तुवनहं मुग्ध इति त्वयैव कारुण्यतो नाथ कटाक्षणीयः
दाक्षिण्यरम्या गिरिशस्य मूर्तिः देवी सरोजासनधर्मपत्नी
व्यासद्वयोऽपि विवदेय वाच स्फुरन्ति सर्वे तव शक्तिलेशे
मन्दो भविष्यन्नीतभिरिञ्च वाचामृधे वञ्चनभागधेयः
दैत्यापनीतं दैव भूयोऽपि अध्यापयस्यो निगमां न चेत्त्वम्
Naren, ma'am.
जय श्रीमन नारायण.
So, what are your questions, ma'am? You might even have a few questions, ma'am.
It's not related to the Hayagreeva-Stotram. Just cash. What is the difference between Dharmam and Satyam?
Satyam, suppose you are doing chemistry. Satyam is the theory classes. Dharmam is the lab work. Satyam is the academic way of telling what is right, what is wrong, what is true. Dharmam is what you put into practice. If you say, I am doing Sandhya Vandanam, it is Satyam. But what is Dharmam that supports it? You are actually doing it. So here, Satyam can be academic. Dharmam is practical. There are many people who know Satyam, who know about Bhagavan, but they are not practical, they don't put it into practice. Say, for example, look at the difference between a Vedic scholar from India and a professor in Harvard University teaching philosophy. The professor at Harvard University teaching philosophy, say an American gentleman, he also knows about Upanishads, he also knows about Mahatmas. So, to teach his students, an American professor, he doesn't follow, but he explains everything, but he doesn't follow. Whereas you look at a Vedic scholar in India, he not only teaches the students, but he follows also. The American professor only teaches, but he doesn't follow. The American professor teaches Vedantam, but he will still eat non-veg, beef, he takes alcoholic drinks, etc. So, he learned that subject out of academic interest only, but not for practicing. So Satyam is how the subject should be. Dharmam is how the subject should be adopted into day-to-day life. Is that clear, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Go ahead, ma'am.
sir. Nobody has any questions. I can ask. One more question, sir. Just how the Hayagreeva was given the darshan to the Vedanta Desham. Just elaborate, just shortly, sir.
Vedanta Deshika prayed to Bhagavan Garuda first. Garuda had his appearance and gave him Hayagreeva Mantram. Then Hayagreeva prayed on Hayagreeva Mantram. And when finally Hayagreeva gave his Sakshatkar, Vedanta Deshika said, Jikhvagra Simhasanam Abhipeyaha. Vedanta Deshika said, hey Hayagreeva, now that you have appeared before me, may I request you to accept my tongue as your seat. Usually people get boons. People worship and they ask for boons. In the case of Mahatma Vedanta Deshika, he did not ask for any special boon. He said, may you kindly be there. May you kindly be there. When this stotram is being done. So, in the case of Vedanta Deshika, he requested Hayagreeva, instead of sitting somewhere in Vaikuntham on a golden throne, etc., hey Hayagreeva, Jikhvagra Simhasanam Abhipeyaha. May my tongue be the Simhasanam for you to sit eternally. That is why he became a genius and could compose Paduka Sahasram, 1008 verses, in just two muhurtas. Mahatma Vedanta Deshika could compose Paduka Sahasram in just 2 muhurtas, 96 minutes. Not possible for us. We take 4.5, 5 hours just to read. Imagine how smart Vedanta Deshika should be to compose all these 1008 verses, and that too in 96 minutes. Whereas we are struggling. We are struggling. Even to read, it takes 5 hours. So, how Hayagreeva blessed Vedanta Deshika? He asked him to be sitting on his tongue. Let Vedanta Deshika's tongue be the throne for Hayagreeva. And that's how Vedanta Deshika became a great devotee of Bhagavad Ramanuja. Is that clear, sir?
Yes, sir.
Narayana. Emma, no other questions, Emma? Did we do the 8th verse also here? Mando bhavishyan etam virincho vacham ide vanchita bhagadeya daichapanitan deva bhuyapi adhyapishyo nigamana chetvam. Where Mahatma Vedanta Deshika says, hey Lord Hayagreeva, the treasure house of all knowledge, the 2 demons Madhu and Kaitapa have stolen the Vedas from Brahma. Bhagavan appeared as Hayagreeva and killed those 2 demons Madhu and Hayagreeva and restored the Vedas back to Brahma. So, Madhu and Kaitapa, when they have stolen the Vedas, Bhagavan came as Hayagreeva, killed them, and restored the Vedas back to Brahma. If Hayagriva has not taught Vedas to Brahma, Brahma would have been very, very ignorant like you and me. Without Vedic knowledge, we are simply ignorant. With Vedic knowledge, anybody can become great. Go ahead, Amma. Next question. Amma, anyone of you? All right, Amma, take it easy. We'll continue again. Narayana.